Okay, before we go any deeper into the episodes of my story, I wanted to take a pause and I want to tell you who I am. I think it's important because what I'm sharing didn't come from some perfect life or an easy path. It came from surviving hell and choosing to shine. And it's the craziest feeling. I've been here before. This moment, this choice, this chance to rise or retreat. And I used to retreat, but not this time. This time I'm showing up. Not because I'm fearless, but because I'm done hiding. I came back from the edge of death with a message, and I didn't go through all that just to stay silent. So this is it. This is me, shining, raw, real, wide open. Welcome to the Spiritual Bacon Podcast. I'm Casey, and this is the episode I used to be too scared to record. I grew up in Utah. Besides a short time in Texas, it's been home all my life. I came from a Mormon household. My parents divorced when I was 9. I knew early on religion wasn't for me, but breaking away from that, mentally, emotionally, that took years. I was pretty naive as a kid, sheltered, a lot of church activities, sports, trying to stay out of trouble in a single parent home. Me and my brother worked at times to help keep the lights on, pay the bills. The survival mode lifestyle, it never sat right with me, even back then. I always thought I'd play basketball. That'd be my platform to inspire people. But that dream started to fall apart when the school coach decided he didn't like me. I wasn't the best student. I made a lot of choices that didn't help, skipping class, drinking, getting high. Then I transferred schools, got my grades up, was ready to play for the new school. They were certainly happy to have me. And my old coach, who was also my health teacher, changed my grade to stop me from playing. Later, I shattered the growth plates in my knees from a cheap shot in a church basketball game. The ER told me I was fine. It was misdiagnosed. And that's just like where the beginning of the chaos. That's it. That was the beginning of the chaos. I ended up in South Padre Island in Texas, basically Mexico, with zero adult supervision, weed, booze, drugs. You could get anything down there. We even got shot at. That shook me up. I think I was 17 at that point. I came home when my brother left for his mission. Diagnosed with ADHD as a kid. Severe depression, anxiety, sleep disorders, restless leg syndrome, you name it. I've done years and years of therapy. I got my house raided at 21 after I got some weed in the mail. That led to PTSD. I've lost 2 children. 1 to abortion, 1 to miscarriage. Drugs came next. Spent several years in the court system for the weed and the mail ordeal. Physically, I've been through it. I bulged 5 discs in my back. I was rushing a wheelchair outside for my father, who had just had a stroke and flipped over the wheelchair when it got caught on the wheelchair ramp, causing an elevated right diaphragm, which basically my stomach muscles are crushing my lung on the right side. So I'm working with a lung and a half here. Fought for years to get on disability. Emotionally, it didn't stop. I ended up getting in a toxic relationship fueled by pills. And that ended when I walked in on my best friend sleeping with my partner. And my dad died. My mom got cancer. And somewhere in that mess, I completely shut down. I got addicted to painkillers and video games. And I tell you this because I need you to know. I'm not here talking about intuition and awakening and spiritual healing from some mountaintop. I'm a regular guy who crawled out of hell and somehow found something bigger, something real. This podcast isn't just about what I've seen, it's about what I've survived. And if I can find peace, healing, connection, so can you. That's why I'm here. That's why I came back. Not to preach, just to remind you that you're capable of more than you're being told. And I'm going to share everything I've learned, every tool, every shift, every spark, because I want you to see what's possible, not just for me, but for you. And that's not all of me. You've heard a lot of the heavy stuff. Now let me tell you about the rest of me. I love sports, basketball, football, UFC. It all runs in my blood. I'm diehard jazz fan from way back. Stockton, Malone, to the D. Will, Boozer, Mehmet Okur, Paul Millsap, AK-47, clear to Rudy and Donovan. I've lived through all of it. I grew up watching football on one of them old-ass TVs with the antennas and the tinfoil on the end. Man, Shannon Sharp, that was my hero. Authentic as hell. I still remember being crushed as a kid when I didn't get his number 84 jersey for Christmas. And now, now I bleed blue and orange. Denver Broncos everything. I know this team inside and out. Every roster, every heartbreak. I told anyone who'd listen to take over on that 3 wins last season. Add a Hall of Fame coach and a quarterback who's going to excel in his system to a 500 team and win 3 games. Come on. My dream, or if I had a goal in life, it was always to buy the Broncos or to bring an NFL team to Utah. Imagine that. A stadium in the mountains and the best fans in the world. And it wasn't just sports. I've always been competitive. Anything I wanted to do, I'd figure it out and I'd win at it. Football, basketball, video games, it didn't matter. I wasn't always the biggest dude on the court, but I owned the boards. Rebounds were mine. I studied the spin. I learned how the ball would bounce before it hit the rim. If I had to pick one moment that says who I really am, it'd be the championship game. The other team, they played dirty, undercut me, knocked me out cold, broke my arm, and when it came time to leave for the hospital, I went over to the scorer's table and I checked myself back in. Broken arm, blurry vision, crazy headache, it didn't matter. I was staying in that fight for my team to win. We lost the game, but I gave everything I had. That's who I am. 120% or nothing. I've always loved music. Country and rap, anything real, anything raw, positive. I always loved Snoop was always my favorite. Nate Dogg, Warren G, Tupac, Biggie, Wu-Tang. I could go on and on. Big Timers, Sunny Days still hits. In country, man, I love country. I grew up on Garth, George, Reba, Alabama. Always loved Brad Paisley. Um, Jelly Roll. How inspirational is that, dude? Wow. Smoking Section by Jelly Roll. That's for the homies who didn't make it. Anytime I'm missing them, I turn on Smoking Section. Post Malone's Nosedive. It could be the soundtrack to my whole journey. And Shinedown, I realize that's rock, but man, Get Up by Shinedown, Symptoms of Being Human, those songs speak to my soul. And Ozzy's Dreamer, wow, he's been yelling at us this whole time, and nobody's listening. I'm a big mountain guy. I love my mountains. It's 4 seasons of beauty. Fishing, rafting, tubing, hiking, paddleboards, kayaks, anything outdoors. I love it. My dad worked in the gaming industry growing up, so I grew up loving video games, not just for the competition, because they're someone's dream, it's someone's story, and you get to play it. Halo, I loved Halo. I got to play it before it was released to the public, and I was hooked. It was over. I'm an Xbox guy for life. I love dogs. Big dog guy. Pit bulls. America's dog. Loyal. Protective. Misunderstood. Just like me, At the end of the day, I've always been the friend people called when they had nobody else. I knew everyone's secrets. I listened. I showed up. At least until I fell apart. I'm loyal as hell. Loving to a fault. I like to just call it ride or die. And if I had been born in a different time, with the UFC more mainstream, I might have been locked in that cage. Just me and another human, one on one. There's nothing more pure than that. Fighters, the UFC, wow. I could talk about them all day, and there's so many, but Chuck Liddell got me hooked. Then you've got Rampage, terrifying and hilarious. Cowboy, Rose and her mental health struggles. Poirier, Holloway, Mighty Mouse with the Xbox shorts. The Diaz brothers, authentic to the bone. Alex Pereira, spiritual beast. Yuri, he's 101. Whitaker, he's a gamer and a warrior. So yeah, you've heard about the pain, but this is passion. This is me. All of it. Raw, real, spiritual, grounded, but still fire. Still me. And as I kind of mentioned before, this isn't the first time I felt this crossroads in my bones. It's haunted me in quiet moments. Moments where I almost said what I really felt, almost shared what I truly knew, almost let the light spill out. But I always pulled back. I dimmed. I made myself small, digestible, quiet. Because somewhere deep down, I believed shining would cost me something. Love, safety, acceptance, maybe even my life. And that might have been true once, and another time, another body, another lifetime, but not anymore. This lifetime is different. This one, I made it out. I survived what was meant to take me down. I died, and I came back with the truth etched into my being. And here it is. I'm not here to fit in. I'm not here to play small. I'm not here to betray my soul to keep others comfortable. I'm here to wake people up. I'm here to speak to the ones who feel too weird, too sensitive, too much. The ones who know they came back for a reason, but still doubt it when the light goes out. You're not crazy. You're not alone, and you're not broken. You're remembering, just like me. Now, it took me some time to realize I wasn't just waking up, I was being called. There wasn't a burning bush. No angel appeared in the corner of my room. It was quieter than that, more personal. It showed up as a pressure in my chest I couldn't ignore, a sense that if I didn't do something with what I'd been shown, I'd explode from the inside. And then I heard it, clearer than a thought, softer than a whisper. You came back to remind people who they are. That one line unlocked everything. My intuition, my memories, knowing that we are so much more than these bodies, these routines, these roles we play. Problem was, I didn't feel qualified. I wasn't a guru. I wasn't some saint. I was just a person who died, came back, and couldn't ignore the fire inside of me anymore. And that was the key. You don't need a title to tell your truth. You don't need a certification to shine your light. You just need to say yes to the part of you that already knows why you're here. So that's what I did. Slowly, through the fear, through the imposter syndrome, through the voice in my head that kept saying, "You're not ready." But here's what I've learned. That voice is always lying. You're never going to feel ready to become who you truly are. You just decide. And leap. And I didn't know what would happen when I said yes. I just knew I couldn't keep saying no. And at first, it felt like jumping off a cliff with no parachute. But the truth is, there was never a fall. There was only flight. Things didn't magically become easy, but they became real, aligned, alive. The fear didn't disappear. It just stopped deciding for me. And in its place came this deep, humming peace. And the kind that doesn't come from safety or approval. The kind that comes from finally being who you are with no apology. I started hearing the right words at the right time, meeting people who got it like they'd been waiting for me to. And the craziest part, I didn't have to become someone else to get here. I just remembered who I already was. This is what's waiting for you on the other side of fear. Not perfection, not performance, just truth, just freedom, just you, finally coming home.